It is lights out and away we go. Hello, racers. Welcome to episode 13 of the Hard or Soft podcast. I am one of your hosts, Adrian Huff, and I'm joined by my co-host, the other host, RJ McCullough. What is going on, RJ?
Hey Adrian, that's me, the other host.
That is you.
So yeah, another win for Max, another win for you. Unfortunately, Lewis is seemingly getting up there. We'll never know what he would have finished if not for that lap one incident. But overall, we'll get into the race obviously. But yeah, nice to get back just a few days after recording our little quick preview episode we did. So yeah, I'm looking forward to chatting. So much stuff happened over the weekend, over the race, but as is becoming a semi-weekly, regular thing, I'm going to go ahead and chug this Red Bull. If you want to maybe start going over the standings.
Yeah, let's do it. So yes, Max won. He's one of my drivers on my fantasy team. I also have Charles. So this is literally his sixth, I think, punishment. Has not done a punishment. And of course, once he looks back to the screen, he's going to see the ultimate motivator. Christian Horner.
Oh my God.
Does that not fill you with just determination to let your teammate go right past you?
Fills me with determination to do a lot of things. Fills me with determination to just hit stop record and just leave this podcast once and for all.
Oh my God. Okay, so I won't torture you the whole show. So
I saw some shoulders behind you. I thought it might be Max, which whatever.
Yeah.
Christian Horner, that's a sight for. Well, I was gonna say sight for sore eyes. That's a sight that makes your eyes sore.
I've never heard that expression before. That is fucking great. But once again, you've just absolutely crushed the Red Bull. Like massive props, because. I mean, I cheer for Red Bull, and even I don't drink Red Bull. So
yeah, not great. But without further ado, let's discuss our Haas League, Formula One hard or soft league that we have going. So this week, going into this week, entering Spain, RJ is at 239 points. Adrian was at 307 for a 68-point lead from Adrian. This week, you only had 4 guys give you points, obviously led by Max. I had 6. Sorry. 6 guys get points for me, led by Checo. So this week, you had 43, I had 59. So I gained points. So the new total, 350 for Adrian, 298 for RJ. So I trail you now at 52 points. And we were discussing before the show, we talk about this all the time, but potential punishments for when this thing ends. And I think we've kind of landed on something.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we have. So I think we've come to the conclusion, it's no secret. We're recording this virtually. We're very far from each other. I'm in Atlanta, based in Georgia, and you are from Toronto. So the loser will have to travel to the other host's country to record an in-person podcast. Hopefully see a race, whether it's IndyCar or literally anything. Just create lots of content, meet face to face. And wow, that's not the first time you've gained on me, but you've definitely I feel like that's you've definitely lowered the deficit. So it's super exciting. The only real caveat we've said is this: we're gonna try for the loser to make it to the other country by the end of the summer break of next season. So let's say I lose, I have to come visit you in Toronto before the end of summer break 2023. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Now I'm really rooting for, honestly, I was going to say I'm definitely want to win more, but I'm honestly okay if I lose now because I would love to come up to Toronto.
Yeah, and just for those of you who aren't from here, we actually don't pronounce the second T, so it's Toronto.
Toronto.
No, just Toronto. No second T.
Toronto.
There you go.
Oh, okay.
You see, you learn something new every day.
Yeah, I did not know that actually.
Yeah, it's like people from elsewhere say Montreal. We say Montreal.
Montreal.
Just all these little Canadian things. So
Montreal and Toronto.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, okay.
And the A. You're
Hey,
perfect. 3 for 3.
hey.
So yeah, but it is your turn to do the 1 minute race review. So why don't you get into that?
Oh gosh, yes, let's do it. Let me pull up a stopwatch really fast, just so I can stay true to the time.
Yes.
And okay, the 1 minute Spanish GP race review. Are you ready for me to go?
Yep. And I'm gonna 3, 2, 1.
It's lights out and away we go. Charles Leclerc gets an amazing start and dominates the race for now. Carlos has a terrible start and drops multiple places. Kevin Magnussen and Lewis Hamilton have contact and they both suffer punctures and are forced to pit immediately. Mick starts in P6 but cannot hold on to that long and Haas never recovers. Carlos spins out in the gravel because of wind. Seems fishy. Just kidding, because Max goes off in the exact same place 2 laps later. Perhaps it's a cursed corner. Russell gets into P2 behind Leclerc. Verstappen has DRS issues, which makes him very, very angry. Charles' race is cut short after a power unit issue, forcing him to DNF. Heartbreaking. Lance Stroll once again does not check his mirrors and spins out. George defends brilliantly for multiple laps, but is eventually overtaken by Perez. Verstappen fights all his way up to P2 and makes a wish to Papa Christian Horner. And poof, Sergio lets him by because the team orders are apparently a thing. And Lewis starts having heating issues towards the end, so Carlos manages to overtake him on the last lap, and Max wins, followed by Perez, Russell, Sainz, Hamilton, Bottas, Ocon, Norris, Alonso, and Sonoda. Boom! 60 seconds.
Let's go.
Jeez. Oh my god.
That was great.
I stuttered a bit, but
That was great. You got
holy
a
shit.
lot
Yeah,
of
so
details. You had a couple little puns in there.
a little bit.
I'm gonna have
Yeah.
to step up my game next week.
Oh
Sorry.
my god. Yes. So gosh.
Well done. Well done.
let's get into this. We're gonna quickly touch on everything I just mentioned and more. So, I know you had the something you wanted to jump into regarding qualifying at the start.
Yeah, one sec. Just gotta turn off my. Just open up a website and some audio started playing. Hope you can hear that.
I did not hear anything.
All right. All right. I don't know
It's
where it's
just
coming
audio
from.
of Christian Horner. You're like, no, 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 I promised.
All right. Well, I'm just gonna close that tab because I don't want to listen to that while I'm talking. Okay. So let's go off memory. I have to cut around that. I'll leave it in. So, anyways, the story that I wanted to discuss was just the qualifying. That 18 of 20 drivers broke the qualifying regulations, which is basically like going too slow out of the pit lane. Something to do with that. And there was 55 regulations broken. So a couple of drivers kind of got the worst end of it than others. There were some reprimands sort of handed out, but the fact that it was done across the board, I don't know if it was a track issue or what happened. If guys just need to be like, it's strange to me that got 18 of 20 drivers can break these violations multiple times, but I mean, God forbid Lewis Hamilton would wear an earring or Sebastian Vettel would wear the wrong underwear.
Yeah.
Like, it's very strange that they. I mean, if you want to crack on something, and get strict on something, that seems like the thing to do it on. But yeah, what did you think of that? It wasn't like I don't know how much it affected, but overall, but it definitely affected. I think Norris and a couple guys that didn't get out of Q1.
Yeah, I don't know if it like directly had an effect on Lewis, but it definitely it gives an unfair advantage. I know that there was a problem that they were like lining up far back into the pit lane to the point where like Haas was like getting blocked from releasing. So they pretty much put a halt to that. But Haas themselves were like some of the worst offenders because Mick and Kevin Magnussen were actually summoned right after qualifying. The biggest issue was just that they did their outlap and they were going extremely, extremely slow to try to keep their tire temperatures not like cold, but like without keeping them overheating. You know, I guess if you do the outlap extremely quickly, you are definitely going to lose a little bit of time in your flying lap. So, you know, I understand, you know, being a driver and wanting to try to gain every kind of advantage, but you know, it's definitely unfair. There should definitely be. I mean, the stewards are, I guess, not even priding themselves. They're just stating that they're going to be extremely strict and even across the board. So No penalties were handed out, but hopefully this is something that they crack down on more because, regardless of which driver it affects, it's still not cool. So
Yeah.
that was definitely interesting. 18 out of 20 drivers. I'm trying to find the list of the two that were
Yeah,
not.
I had it on the site that I had up, but it had an autoplay video, and then I just can't stand for that. So,
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
but while you're looking that up, one thing about stewards, and I don't want to talk on this for long because I'm going to get heated, is your old friend Michael Massey may be returning to some because they have the two new race stewards, or whatever you want to call them, and apparently they would like to add a third, and the name Michael Massey has been brought up. And that's all I'm going to say because I don't want to lose privilege of being able to post on the internet.
Yeah, or banned from any Formula One race in
Right.
the future.
Yeah.
I mean, it's strange for sure. After the dramatic firing that he had, Mercedes hardcore advocating for his departure, which I think it's warranted. We've discussed that. They kind of tried to lighten the load a little bit, and they're like, listen, he's not going to be like one of three. Like we want 10, 12, 15 race directors. Like
Yeah.
basically, and it's cool in theory, but
Right.
it's just I just thought it was weird that they threw his name into the
Yeah.
ring
Yeah.
like first round.
Consistency, like on the, yeah, they kind of damper it by saying that like 10, 15. And I get the idea, but at the same time, like, you need consistency race to race. You can't have 10, 15 people unless it's like I don't know, like a committee sort of thing. Like I know in hockey they have like they call it like the war room where they like review certain things, but I don't know. I think from like we don't know obviously that much about the past of F1, but it seems like there was a guy that used to do it for a long, long time that was incredible at it, and they sort of took it for granted. And then ever since he either retired or passed, I regretfully don't know the answer to that question, but um, it's yeah, Massey didn't do well, and these guys now are doing okay, but obviously they're not satisfied with what's going on, and their off-track stuff is just strange. So
Okay, so let's jump into this GP breakdown. Um, yeah, Jesus, I don't even know where to start. I mean, yeah, let's just kind of go through it. I have some notes here, but yeah, first lap, even for like first couple of turns, like let me ask you, what was your reaction when Kevin Magnussen punctured Lewis?
not it was very like obviously was very very excited as the race starts, and then I'm kind of trying to track. See George has a great start, and then looking to find Lewis, things are looking pretty good, and then yeah, that happens, and it was a couple minutes of not good thoughts, not good words coming out of my mouth. It obviously wasn't as bad as originally thought, but just the fact that he had to pit right away, and then Magnussen coming on the radio blaming Lewis, like, oh, he knew what he was doing, which, I mean, like, I think it was just kind of a spur of the moment angry decision, but like, I can't really be unbiased with Lewis, but I think they even said on the broadcast, like, neither guy did anything wrong.
Hmm.
But to answer your question, yeah, I wasn't happy at the start. Most of the race, I wasn't very happy, but I came around near the end.
Yeah. To Kevin Magnussen's credit, he's had, he's known for, I wouldn't even say a temper, but just being super heated on track. He said afterwards, he was like, I think he apologized to Lewis, and he just said that, it wasn't his fault, that even though he said in the race that he knew what he was doing, he was like, I was just heated. It was a
Yeah.
racing incident. So
Okay.
it's cool that, he has the hindsight, because I mean, you watch that, like Lewis did nothing wrong there. I mean, a slight bit of understeer, it's just super unfortunate. I mean, and Kevin, he took the outside route extremely tight, obviously. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I texted you. I was just like, I went through so many emotions during this race, like for different drivers and different teams. It's just, I was super hyped seeing
Mm-hmm.
Mercedes. I was like, oh shit, Lewis like gained some places, and George obviously. I was like, oh fuck, and then obviously that happened. I was just like, damn, dude, because
Yeah.
it just sucks. And
Yeah.
I have lots of thoughts on like Red Bull stuff like that. We'll get to that, but besides Lewis though, George
Mm.
jumped up
Mega.
quickly. Yeah, yeah, an absolutely mega start. Extremely impressive. I mean, he's been nothing but impressive this entire season so far. Obviously, he's been the most consistent driver out of every driver. I still I say I miss Bottas, but Bottas seems to be doing just fine.
Yeah,
And I'll come back to that because something
just peachy.
interesting. Yeah, something interesting was said about or from Bottas a couple of months ago, actually. Um, but he didn't want another year contract. He wanted longer. So I think George has just been the absolute best fit. And the fact that he's outperforming Lewis, I think, is shocked literally everyone. I mean, if you took a
Mhm.
poll of Mercedes fans and non-Mercedes fans and said, "Do you think George will be better than Lewis in every race in 2022?" Most people would be like, "Nope." You know.
Right. Now, I
So
will say for my guy Lewis, it's not like they've been, going on equal
no,
footing exactly. Like Lewis has had some bad breaks, George has had some good breaks, but I will also say, yeah, George has been above and beyond expectations. He's arguably the most impressive driver so far this season on the grid. So
absolutely.
all praise to him.
For sure. And a lot of people, I've seen some comments saying that he's been like extremely posh and arrogant, but I think the exact opposite. I
Hmm.
think if he had even a remotely bad attitude, that he could be saying things way, way worse than he is. I
Right.
mean, I think he's obviously, drivers are going to hype themselves up. They're going to talk about their performance, but he's been nothing but graceful to Lewis. I mean, when
Hmm.
Lewis has had his faults, not even necessarily to his own, you know, for his own mistakes, it's, car mistakes, whatever, but he's been absolutely just extremely graceful and respectful, which I feel like is very necessary. I mean, yeah, they're both British drivers, but I think that's at least nice to see that he's giving Lewis the obvious credit that he's deserved. Because, I mean, you could pick a handful of drivers, and if you put them in the same position, outperforming the 7-time world champion, they would be total dickheads. And I can say
Yeah.
that about Max, like anybody.
Well, I
So,
was just gonna say, like, I think there's a couple of drivers on the grid that would say something along the lines of, "Well, if Lewis Hamilton's the greatest of all time and I'm in the same car as him and I'm beating him, then what does that make me?" You
yeah.
know? So, but yeah, George has been. I think it's sort of just like, kind of like you said, like that British, uh, just the way they come off can kind of come across sort of like they think they're better than everyone else.
Yeah,
Um, but I don't know. I think he's doing a good job of knowing his place right now. And
for
it
sure.
will be interesting if there ever does come a time when team orders for Mercedes become a thing, because at this point, they it wouldn't really be fair to George to let Lewis pass him, but also
Hmm.
they're never gonna like make an obvious point of letting George pass Lewis either. So I don't
Hmm.
know. Something to discuss a little bit later on because there were some of that happened.
Definitely.
But yeah, moving on.
Sure. And last thought on that is definitely going to be super interesting if we have to see, because I don't think he's going to be like Bottas. He's ahead in the drivers' championship. If it comes to a point where regardless of where they're at, if it's the top three or wherever, if they tell George let Lewis by, who knows what'll happen.
Yeah, who knows?
But yes, back to the race. So yeah, obviously, George had an amazing start. Charles, though, took off. Great start. But his teammate, Carlos, terrible, terrible start. I don't know if you watched his replay, but he sort of stalled right at the start. And I don't know if he kept it in neutral or if he didn't like shift quick enough. And he, like, I don't know what exactly happened, but he buckled and then he took off. And, at a race start, you're never going to gain that time back, at least in that lap. So he dropped back far. And God, it sucks so hard because, like, it's his home GP, obviously.
Yeah,
So it, it's gut wrenching because I wanted him to get pole. I wanted him to get in the top three, but just starting off, it was just terrible, terrible, terrible. And then he spun out in that corner a couple of laps later, which that was a bit strange, don't you think?
yeah. I think that was lap 7. But then
Hmm.
I know you're gonna get to this. But then I think it was just 2 laps later. Max did the exact same thing in like the exact same spot. They're
Yep.
saying wind, but like I don't know if they're saying that on the broadcast. I guess it's a real thing, but it just seems weird to me that a gust of wind can just blow these cars off a track.
Yeah, like that's
That could just happen. Do you think that would happen more than if that was the case?
yeah, it's and Crofty was saying, tailwind and headwind. It's just super strange. To Sainz's credit, when he did that, I was like, of course, he has got the worst luck. He choked, but then Max did the exact same thing 2 laps later, and it's just super, super weird. I guess it was the win because nobody did it the rest of the race, but like extremely, extremely strange. But yes, so Magnussen and Lewis pit at the start. Mick gets up into P6. He is not able to hold that though. Mick has just been, it's understandable, but at the same time, it's disappointing. You're disappointed for him, but you're also disappointed like at him. You're like, come on, dude.
I know.
Like K-Mag is 10th in the Drivers' Championship when Haas hasn't had a point, didn't get a single point last season. It's just he's young. That it's totally understandable, but it's so disappointing. And I know he feels it too. He has to, that he hasn't got a point yet. But only time will tell because he ended up in 14th, which 14th. Yeah, when Zhou Guanyu and Charles, spoiler alert, DNF'd, he would have ended up in 16th. So it's just super disappointing. Like that's just typical like results for him. There's nothing special with that. But yes, back to the race. Bottas surprisingly gets an amazing start. He gets up into P5 like right at the start on lap 9. I know he was up into P5, and then of course on lap 9, 2 laps after Sainz, Max spins out, and this is sort of where all of the Red Bull drama begins. And I have some thoughts. I'll kind of get into that towards the end, but Perez passes him and it's sort of on George for a couple of laps. But to George's credit, Perez could not get past him with DRS. So, I guess, I don't know if he didn't have the pace. I mean, it's no secret Mercedes have the fastest car on the straight, so it's hard to compete against that even with DRS. So he just wasn't capitalizing in the corners, which is disappointing. But yeah, what did you think about George's performance, specifically defending the Red Bulls?
Yeah, I think like especially his defense of Verstappen. I think that like you discussed the difference between him and Bottas. I think that's something we didn't, as a Merc fan, wanted to see all year from Valtteri last year. And George, obviously different scenario, but George did an incredible job of keeping off Max and Sergio, but especially Max, because Max is incredible at overtakes. There's no denying that. Like even the overtake he had on, forget who it was, but it was on like turn 12, and they were like, no one passes on turn 12. Like he's great. So for George to do what he did and hold him off so long, both of them, was very impressive. And like obviously there's that part of me that's a little bit like doesn't want him doing better than Lewis, but I mean every race he's just impressing me, and like I'm definitely growing an affinity for him as well. So I was very impressed. That's about all I can really say. Like it was clean. There was, we can talk about it later, but there was kind of a funny, kind of weird moment in the post presser. I guess we can just talk about it now because it's on topic. But like Max talking about how George was in George's blind spot, and I don't know. Do you want to explain? Because I don't exactly.
I honestly don't understand either.
I didn't really get what he was saying. Like he was kind of, I don't know what he was doing. We'll put the audio in because it was just weird, and I think George was just kind of biting his tongue. But
the turn 3 because of leaving one car with. Yeah, luckily nothing happened. I mean, there was a bit of grip on the outside, so I'm okay with it. I think it was hard racing, and of course, I went around the outside, but I'm also in the blind spot of George. So I think you didn't even really notice where I was exactly right. Like, well, for sure you knew that I was there, but I mean, it's always hard to fully give a car switch there because it's a fast corner, you're drifting wide. So if I was in George's position, I would have probably done the same. So it's just how we are, I think.
Yeah, I don't know if he was covering himself or giving cover to George because that's something he does all the time. But yeah, we'll put the audio in. You can decide for yourself.
Yeah, and we unfortunately didn't get the clear audio to the cool down room. I didn't do any research about that, but I only can assume it was because of language, maybe.
Right.
I mean, unless they have technical issues. But speaking of the technical aspect of Formula One, I know we discussed in the preview about the drone footage.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I said in the preview that I thought it was really cool, which it is. I think a drone following Formula One during the race is a super, super cool idea. But seeing it executed in the race, they definitely have a lot of tweaks that need to be made. The field of view is like super off. And I know the drone can't fly over the track, obviously, because if something was to happen, like you don't want the drone hitting a car, obviously. But it was just weird. It was like it was focused on the like a good like 100 feet off track, and then you saw the drivers like way to the left of the screen. It was just weird. Like I admire them for taking a shot and trying to do something cool, but they need to improve it. Definitely, there needs to be something different because it just looked kind of shitty, you know?
Yeah, I think we've seen in a few other sports where they've tried maybe not even drones, but certain kinds of tracking cameras, and they're really cool when you have the time to set them up, or you can focus on one thing. But when it's the actual live event, it's very hard to pull off properly. Like I think it looked really cool in the practice sessions, especially because there's not necessarily one thing that they have to. They can choose what they want to show. Even qualifying, I think it works. But during the race, yeah, it's not. It wasn't ideal. There's a lot of blowback for it online, but that's going to happen with anything.
Oh yeah,
People don't usually go online to voice their pleasure with something. It's usually their displeasure. But,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, they'll work on it.
Mm-hmm. To their credit, last season when they introduced the first-person helmet cams, I believe the first time we saw it, it was either Ocon or Russell.
Okay.
And you could not see anything. Like it was like almost unwatchable. It was so shaky. It was pointed like down. You could just see a little bit, but then they tweaked it, and now it's like those are definitely my favorite shots to watch. Like I adore when they switch to those because I mean, yes, it's shaky, obviously a little bit, but they stabilized it. It's aimed straight. Like they just tweaked it and perfected it, and it just looks so cool. So hopefully they'll do that with the drone shots. But speaking of other technical issues, Max was having some serious reliability issues. His DRS was not opening. He was really struggling to get past George, and it was so funny reading the live thread while it was happening. People were like, he's going to have to do this the old way, before DRS, but these cars aren't really made for that. So it was I do not really enjoy him bitching out. I don't like when athletes they act like assholes, which I mean I understand it, but there's just a little bit of like a line to me, and I mean I can assume what your thoughts on that are, but it to me just seemed like a little bitch.
Yeah, even defamed Helmut Marko even had a quote about how he had a little temper tantrum.
Yeah.
So for him to say something about who's basically his son, yeah,
for sure.
I don't know. It's just the way he does it. Like, oh, this is unbelievable. It's like, all right, like no one's like, it's just like a fuck you to the whole factory and everyone in the paddock and everything. Like they're not trying to do this to you, Max. But that being said, I always have to try and remind myself, like, I get little road rage over going whatever 100 kilometers an hour on the highway when someone like mildly inconveniences me. So got to always keep that in mind a little bit. So not the biggest deal, but like we've seen much worse from him this year.
Oh
it's
yeah,
just like I don't know. You got to kind of adapt and move on.
For sure,
he's getting better.
Yeah, he's definitely improving, but that was just like definitely a slip. Yeah. And it seemed like his when he won, just hearing him and Christian talk. I mean, obviously they were happy and excited, but it seemed like there's just still a little bit of weirdness. It's like when you have a fight with somebody, but then you make up, there's still that awkwardness afterwards. Yeah. I don't know. It was weird, but yeah, it was. Helmut got it exactly right. It was a temper tantrum. And Christian, I can just picture what he's thinking. He's just like, oh, fuck, God damn it. They were trying multiple things. They were like, push it after you get off the curb. Only hit it once. And it was just, I was laughing because I was like, oh my God, this is just like so classic.
Yeah, even on the broadcast, they were kind of joking, but also not joking about maybe he's just pushing it too many times. Like if you push it once, it goes on. If you push it again, it goes off. And he's just hammering the thing. So like, take your time, press the button, wait to see what happens. He's just going ham on the thing. So,
yeah, I think he did do that a couple of times because you could see it opened and then immediately shut.
Yeah.
So I thought that was absolutely hysterical. Even as a Red Bull fan, I say today, it was yesterday, but it was just there was just a lot of emotions running through my head, so many thoughts. But we'll continue on lap 27, I believe it was. Leclerc has power unit issues. His power unit gives out, and Binotto said that it was not because it's a relatively new engine. He just took on new parts pretty recently, if I'm not mistaken, with the upgrades. So they just said it was because he said it was due to damage. So that's a little strange.
Yeah, so I'd seen like MGU-H failure or something like that, but
yeah,
I don't know.
It's just strange that the engine would get damaged so quickly.
Yeah.
So is this a little hint that maybe Ferrari does have some reliability issues as well? Maybe. I mean,
is an F1 team maybe not telling the exact truth? Have you ever seen that before?
No. F1 is the most truthful sport in existence.
Yeah. That's up there with boxing.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. The FIA.
Yeah, that's right. Print the hats.
But yeah, I felt so gutted for him.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted Sainz to win this race, and then I wanted Perez to win this race. But after Charles took off, I was like, you know what? I'm okay with him getting this win because I even watching, I try to put my bias aside. Even though I love Charles and I love Ferrari, they're definitely my second team. You know, I'm still Red Bull, but I always think the driver that drove the best deserves it, and I don't know if that necessarily happened during the Spanish GP. I mean, Max is a fucking beast. He is, as I say, he's deserved everything he's gotten, but that's arguable. But it just, I did not like the way they treated Sergio this weekend. I'll say it. I hated it. It pissed me off.
Yeah, it pissed me off too. And it was, you alluded to like as Max crossed the line, like him and Horner's thing, like Christian said something like, oh, sometimes you got to do it the hard way. And like, yeah, but also if Charles didn't DNF, you were not winning that race. Like, I don't know. Like that was Charles's race. So it's unfortunate that he not only didn't win the race, but he just didn't get any points. Like those points are obviously going to be massive come the end of the year that Charles just lost out on by no fault of his own. You just hate to see that. It happens, but it's never something you want to see when there's a championship race.
For sure. And Sergio had to give up the place two times. And I don't know. I mean, I understand he tried 2 or 3 laps to get past George, and then they were like, all right, let's let Max have a go. Then Max had his DRS issues. Then Sergio took the lead of the race towards the end. And of course, he was told to let Max pass, which Max did bridge the gap, or he closed the gap. It is what it is. I just wish that they would let them race. I understand. They're like, let's get a guaranteed 1-2 with Max at the 1 rather than letting them race and potentially risk another Verstappen, Ricardo, or Rosberg, Hamilton situation. So
it's just unfortunate they didn't. Because like Max was catching him, he probably would have passed him either way. But they also didn't let Checo really do his full strategy. So like he was never really given a chance to see what he really would have done if they would have actually pushed for him to get first. And there's a little more that we found out after the race, but we'll get to that after the race discussion.
I don't even know if I've heard what happened after the race, so that's interesting. I'm looking forward to hearing that.
All right, well, let's finish up here.
Yeah. He let Max pass, and I mean, Max was on fresher tires. He got caught up, but he was having DRS issues, so they handed him the win. I mean, again, I love Max. I think it's arguable that he's definitely the best driver on the grid. That's arguable, but it's bullshit to hand somebody a win. And that goes for Lewis, that goes for Lando, that goes for Charles. Team orders are fucking stupid.
Especially at this point of the season. Like, it would make a little more sense if it was one of the last few races and like Checo was already literally mathematically eliminated from winning the drivers. And you can make the case on the opposite of that. Like, well, look at Max last year. They understand that every point matters. But I mean, I don't know. It seems a little early and a little unfair to be doing it at that point. But that's Red Bull for you.
Yeah, and it is unfair for sure. I mean, you can argue for literally every fucking point, so I'm going to stop saying that. But Red Bull is just trying to not have another Abu Dhabi happen. But it makes sense, like Sergio defending Lewis like he did last season, which was epic to watch. But, that's something that you should do if, like you said, he's not even mathematically could potentially win. So
right.
We don't have to harp on this, but or more than I already am, but I hate that so much. And if we see more of this where Sergio could easily win and they just hand it to Max, I will not stay a Red Bull fan, like straight up. If this continues to happen, I mean, I'm not going to swear off the team, but like I can't fully support if this continues to happen. I know Mercedes has done it plenty of times, but that was when, Lewis had almost 100 points on Bottas. So it's just unfair. And Sergio said that. I do know he said in his radio, he was like, we'll speak later. So yeah, if that's what you'll get to, but we can move on. I feel like I've rambled enough, but anyways, we'll move on from there. I'm trying not to get too pissed off. Sorry about that. But later in the race, on a little bit of a lighter note, Lance Stroll had a spin with Pierre Gasly because once again, this dude does not check his mirrors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really don't have anything else to add to that. It's just classic, classic Lance.
Classic Stroll move.
Oh man, yeah, stuff.
Speaking of Pierre Gasly, though, like, what are your thoughts on his performance this season? Because to me, it's been lacking.
Yeah, one of the more disappointing drivers on the grid. Obviously, their car isn't as good as it was, but Tsunoda's decent amount ahead of him in the standing. Yeah, Yuki's 11th. He's 13th. Yuki has almost double the points. So, and Yuki's not like touted as one of the top drivers on the grid as much as Gasly was. He was supposed to be in the upper echelon of just under the Landos and the Leclercs and the George Russells. So I don't know. We'll have to see what he does with the rest of the year and what his career is kind of a little bit in the balance. I think going into the year, everyone felt he deserved a better ride than he was getting. Albeit he didn't do very good at Red Bull in a short time. But now, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I think Yuki has, like, props to Yuki. I think he has improved so much. I mean, being 11th is amazing. He got points this week. He got 10th. Like, that's amazing. I think we could definitely see Yuki at AlphaTauri for a lot more seasons. But Pierre is just, I mean, I feel like if he renegotiated his contract at the end of last season, he could have easily gotten another seat at another team. But I don't know. His performance so far this season, you have to think if he left AlphaTauri, who would take him besides obviously like Williams or maybe Aston if Vettel retires. But I don't know. I think it's been disappointing, which his engineer did say, I think it was after his quali, they said, sorry about the car. So I mean, I guess they're having issues, but Yuki's getting points out of it. So yeah, I guess we'll see. Hopefully he can improve more this season. But yes, continuing I'll try to speed things up a little bit.
Okay,
not harp on Red Bull too much, but it's entertaining to talk about because I definitely wanted to get that out. But
yeah, you got it.
The Spaniard who did do well this week, though, Fernando Alonso, fighting from the back of the grid into the points. He said in his post-race interview that it felt like a victory because it kind of was. And was he put at the back of the grid because of a power or a penalty because of the breaking the Parc Ferme?
I'm not sure. Like they didn't get out of Q1, so they were
Yeah.
close to the back anyways. But I don't remember exactly, to be honest.
I think he took on a new power unit, or he took on
Okay.
some new part, I think.
Okay. Yeah, let's
And
go
he
with
was,
that.
yeah, we'll go with that. And he was already 17th, so I'm sure they were just like,
Okay.
Fuck it.
Yeah.
So, but props to him and Ocon both getting points for Alpine. I think if Fernando can get over his bad luck and can bring home some more points, then Alpine has a shot at the top 5 in the
Yeah.
constructors this season, like easily. I feel like they're
yeah.
not the underdogs, but they're like low key, like they have a good ass car. Like
Yeah, they've been one of the pleasant surprises of the season in terms of overachieving. Like they're at this point, there's a huge drop off after third in the constructors. So really, anyone not named Williams and Aston Martin, potentially Haas, could get fourth still. Like they could still do it. So like one miracle race win like Ocon had last year.
Shoo, yeah.
And there's always one or two of those a year where someone random wins just by circumstance. So yeah, very, very interesting. But great race for Alonso. He was very dejected, and rightfully so, after qualifying because it's his home race. Like I think I had picked him before the race to finish 6th. I think you had said 5th, maybe. Like we had high hopes. He's obviously undoubtedly an amazing driver, and that's his home track. So kind of him and a couple of the old vets kind of had good race days.
Yeah, for sure.
Showed their old form.
Yeah, because we got some decent performance out of Vettel too,
Yeah.
which was nice to see. But the Aston Martin still just terrible. I don't know what they're doing over there. You'd think they have all the pieces to the puzzle, but they just don't. They have, they hired Mike Crack to be the team principal. I'm sorry. And they hired they hired God damn it. And they just have Red Bull's aerodynamic lead come to their team. So, and with the money and everything, Vettel, it makes no sense why they're doing so poorly. But that's the situation. And we got to see a little bit of performance from Vettel, which was great to see. I would love to see either Vettel or Fernando not even fighting for the championship, but like, let's see him in the top 10. Like, I hate this. I don't like seeing these legends struggle, because that's what they are. They're fucking legends. If you've won an F1 championship, you're a legend and you deserve a good car. So hopefully we'll see more out of them, and hopefully Lance starts checking his mirrors. But so besides the towards the end of the race, did you have any more thoughts that you had?
Just the one.
Yeah, midway.
Just one for like the end of the race, but I don't know, where were you at there? Were we at like lap? What lap did that happen? Or I guess we're pretty much done with the. Okay, yeah, no, I was just gonna talk about the Hamilton situation, because he did, I mean, from my perspective, an incredible drive that really didn't get as much credit. He was being a little bit of a pouty baby at first, saying they should just retire the car, but he thought there was no chance that they get points. He got all the way up to what really was a 4th place finish, but then they had to lift and coast. I'd seen some articles through Reddit, which you never know really what to trust, that the amount that they lifted and coasted, like they actually, if not for those issues, like they legitimately may have like a claim to be a top, like it actually might be a 3-way race. Like the car is that fast. Because George also had to do a lot of lifting and coasting apparently. But again, you never really know what to believe with that. But I think it was a great race for Hamilton. He had to basically just, after battling all the way through, passing everyone, even Sainz, he then had to give the place, basically just give it up to Sainz in the last 2 laps left.
Yep.
1 lap left. So that was a little bit disappointing, but overall a really good race for Mercedes, and exactly what we needed as a Mercedes fan. Like this was the race we needed. We knew it was going to be a huge race to determine sort of the rest of the season. And they met expectations. I wouldn't say they necessarily like far exceeded my expectations for the week, because they set the bar high, but yeah, definitely a little more excitement going forwards. Monaco is Monaco, so you never know for that. But Baku and Montreal, Canada, Should be very interesting and very very excited for the possibility that I think we're definitely going to get some Mercedes wins this year.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt about that. If Russell and Hamilton both do not have wins from this season by the end, I will be legitimately shocked, because I think my short prediction regarding Mercedes was just that they would improve, and they did. I feel like they did more than just improve. They've definitely have a good car. If they have the third best car, you could easily say potentially could be upgraded to the second or even first best car. Like, who knows? Hopefully they can get their cooling issues situated. But my God, like Russell just like he just has commanded the car like throughout all the issues. He's just done an amazing job. And I understand Lewis, he's had his struggles. That's totally understandable. But we saw Lewis Hamilton during the Spanish GP, and I saw some, oh my gods, they were so terrible. I saw some really, really funny comments when he's suggested retiring the car. But props to Mercedes for not doing that, because that was definitely an executive decision. And if they had retired, we never would have we wouldn't have known like what he could have pulled out of the car. And P5 after spinning out and a puncture and pitting at the start, it's fucking incredible. I mean, it's the type of drive you expect from him. So absolute props to Mercedes. Like, if this is going to turn into a three-way title battle, I just hope it doesn't turn into Ferrari and Mercedes competing for second, which seems strange to say as a Red Bull fan, but like, I don't want Max to just run away with this thing. Like, I want Charles to at least fight, if not win the championship, because honestly, it would just like, I mean, any driver, running off into the sunset with the lead would suck, but I don't know. It just would, as a Max fan, I would not like that.
Right. I do think the possibility of other guys other than Charles and Max entering the picture of winning races, I think that will sort of help bunch the driver standings and even the constructor standings up. Well, I guess especially the constructor standings up a little more. So that hopefully, we don't see, like, I'm just hoping at least going to Abu Dhabi or whatever the second last race is this year, that there's at least, some sort of, we're never going to get what we got last year again, but it would be so cool to have 3 teams, 3 drivers, maybe 4 drivers, maybe 5 drivers, depending on how, because like you said, Checo, probably they're not going to let him win. Sainz, they might not let him win, but I think they'd probably let George and Lewis go for wins, and then obviously Max and Charles. So there's 4 right there. If Mercedes can keep closing that gap, because they were the third best car going into the last few weeks, but the gap was huge. They have at least narrowed that gap quite a bit, so that's exciting. Do you have anything else on that, or otherwise let's go into the updated standings?
Yeah, that is pretty much it. Like I said at the start, Max wins the race, and you can go through the standings if you'd like.
All right, so the current driver standings, going to go reverse order this time. Number 21, still Latifi.
Oh my God.
Twist the knife, yeah. 20, Hulkenberg. Yes.
Sorry.
Mick Schumacher. Mick Schumacher. Mike Crack. Schumacher, 0 points. And then Zhou Guanyu has 1 point. Stroll has 2 points, 17th. 16th is Albon, 3 points. 15th, Alonso, 4 points. 14th, Sebastian Vettel, 4 points. 13th, Gasly with 6 points. 12th is Danny Ricciardo, 11 points. It's tied with Yuki Tsunoda, also 11 points. 10th, top 10, Kevin Magnussen, 15. Then we got 9th, Ocon with 30 points. 8th, Bottas, 38. 7th, Norris, 39. 6th, Lewis Hamilton, 46. 5th, Carlos Sainz, 65. 4th, George Russell, 74. 3rd, Perez, 85. 2nd, Charles, 104. And number 1, and new drivers standings leader, Max Verstappen. He has a 6-point lead on Charles Leclerc. And I'll quickly run through the constructors. Williams, 10th. 9th, Aston Martin. 8th, Haas. 7th, AlphaTauri. 6th, Alpine. 5th, Alfa Romeo. 4th, McLaren. And then the top 3 is Mercedes at 120, Ferrari at 169, Red Bull at 195. So Red Bull has a 26-point gap on Ferrari and a 75-point gap on Mercedes. The constructors is certainly not done. The drivers is very close at the top. Like, if Perez would anyway, we don't have to go into that, but it's not over in either case for sure. We've got a really good schedule of, I mean, say what you want about Monaco, but after that, there's really good. We get into the couple races, we get into the European swing of the calendar. Yeah, it's very, very exciting what's going on this season. Your thoughts?
Oh my gosh, yes. Monaco is Monaco. We'll see what happens there, but oh my God, I'm so excited for Baku, the Red Bull Ring, Austria. That is probably, those two are like my favorite tracks in the entire calendar. Spa, oh my God, yes, we're gonna get redemption.
Hopefully
from
a
last
dry
year.
Spa.
Yes, hopefully, yes. Knocking on all of the wood. But regarding the standings, a couple of things that jumped out to me. It is like surprising how many drivers have at least 1 point.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you take away Nico, that's only what, 3 drivers with not a single point. Like that's
It's just Schumacher and Latifi that have no points.
really okay.
Even Zhou Guan Yu has a point.
Oh yeah, that's right. He got the point on his debut race. That's right. Like that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's I think that's great because you compare it to last season where Williams, I think Williams it's just a miracle that they got so many points last season. And I say so many points, even though it wasn't like in the grand scheme of things very many. But I mean, Latifi got what, like 4 or 5 points, something like that? Maybe 6.
He got points before Russell got points.
Yeah, he did. I think that definitely helped Russell's like teammate status because he was like, if you have to sacrifice my race for Latifi, do it. That's my Russell impression, I guess. Blimey.
The Peaky Blinders, George Russell mix.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, I like it. But yeah, I think the gap between Red Bull and Ferrari it's fascinating because it's what, 26 points you said?
Yeah.
That's literally did Max get, or who got fastest lap in
Checo.
Spain? Okay, yeah. So Red Bull got those 26 points right there. If Charles hadn't have DNF'd, obviously it would be a lot closer. They would not be ahead. But like, even if you take away, or if you keep Charles's DNF, sadly, if Carlos had just been as consistent as Checo has been, that gap would be way, way tighter. So it's a shame. I've said it multiple times. Hope he can turn it around. It looks like Fernando's starting to do that. So I love that. Hopefully Carlos can do the same.
Yeah, hopefully. I wanted to talk about the Perez thing.
Oh, yes.
So obviously Team Orders was the big talking point after the race. So Checo says, on the first stint when I let Max by, I was told that I was going to get it back. And we knew we were on different strategies. Max had issues with DRS. Checo got the lead from Russell. He said, when I was back on it, I felt like I could have gone through and probably given a better shot at my strategy to make it work. But at the end of the day, it turned out the three stop was the way to go today. We heard on the radio, he said at the end of the race, he said, that's very fair, very unfair, but okay. And he says, I think what was clear was that the 3-stop was a better race time, and the various strategies. I think if I went in that direction, I would have won the race. So not only was he told that they were going to swap back the places, but also, like I kind of alluded to earlier, he didn't really get to run his strategy because of the way they maneuvered him and Max. So interesting that he came out and said that. I mean, he was obviously a little ticked off. You could hear it in his radio, but I don't know, maybe a little tiny crack in the foundation. They should have just maybe sometimes you should just let the guy win.
I completely agree. And when the race ended and they were doing their celebrations, he seemed super, super happy and ecstatic for P2, but that's gotta sting. But I'm sure he's like, I'm gonna voice my concerns and my issues with the team later. But he knows his contract is up this year. I'm sure he wants that renewal. But that aside, you're 100% right. They fucked up his strategy. And when they let Max by, Sergio's engineer told him, they said Max is on a different strategy. And I tried to listen. I couldn't tell if he said if he's faster, we'll let him by, or he's faster, we'll let him by. Either way, that was them telling him, you're going to let Max by. And
Yeah.
he's absolutely right. They fucked his strategy because once he got passed by Max, they're like, okay, now we're pitting him for the soft tire so he can get fastest laps.
Mm-hmm.
That's Bottas shit.
Yeah.
I mean, Bottas is one of my favorites, but like that's Mercedes Bottas shit. And I mean, Mercedes didn't do that like all the time. I'm mostly just being cheeky, but it sucks. Like let's not see this anymore. If I won't go more into it, but if we continue to see it, we're going to see a lot more rants from me. So
yeah, I know. I don't think anyone likes it. I mean, it is what it is. It's going to happen, but it's just not fair, and it's not like in the spirit of any sport where someone just gives the other guy first place. Like no one grows up dreaming to get into F1 and then let someone else win when they could win,
Right, yeah. I was trying to think of like, are there any other sports where that happens? And I can't think of one besides like racing,
Yeah.
It'd be like, I don't know, it's like it's hard to explain. Like it's just weird to have like, you go, I'll hang back. Like that's just that takes away sportsmanship. So
yeah, it goes against everything you're raised to do.
Exactly. So if you can't tell, we don't like team orders.
Team orders, yeah. You want to do our hard and soft awards for the race?
Absolutely. Do you want to start?
Yeah, I can start.
Let's do it.
My hard of the race goes to Lando Norris because Lando had tonsillitis and was struggling mightily throughout the weekend, but he still managed to finish 8th place. Like just amazing that he could even race. First of all, tonsillitis, like in that heat too, just insane. I can only imagine how difficult that was. And then my soft, it's what we just talked about. But yeah, the team orders from Red Bull, that's some soft ass shit.
Yeah, I completely agree. I did not realize Lando had tonsillitis. Tonsillitis. I read that it was like hay fever, but you saw him at the driver's parade with the towel over him. Like God, that like massive props to him because if I have like a slight headache and like a scratchy throat, the thought of exercising, it's not happening. So props to him, and props to him for feeling sick and getting points when Danny was unable to. I know he said he was struggling for grip, but it just sucks seeing Daniel continue to struggle, even though he got his win last year. Like there's so many drivers where I'm like, just do better.
I know.
But my hard award is going to go to a little bit of a surprise. Oh God, it's hard. Okay, it's going to go to George Russell with an honorable mention to Fernando Alonso, because the way he fought back from the back of the grid was mighty. But Russell drove absolutely brilliantly, especially with an inferior car, you could argue. So definitely props to him. And yes, we have the same soft. It's going to Christian or whoever made that decision, because just stop. Not cool. But
we can do our best and worst moment from the race.
Yes,
you can go first on this one.
Okay, let's see. I'm going to say worst moment was Kevin Magnussen and Lewis's contact. You don't ever want to see you don't ever want to see any sort of incident in the first lap, but just super unfortunate. And it definitely ruined K-Mag's race, but it definitely put a halt to Lewis, but he was able to fight back brilliantly. My best moment, it's obligatory, the Red Bull 1-2. It's got to be.
Okay, fair enough. Is yours Red Bull, mine's Mercedes centric. So my worst moment was Lewis is coming on the radio and saying, "Hey, like guys, just retire the car. Let's basically save the engine." Not his finest moment. I think he would be the first to say that. He's being a little bit pissy, a little bit, just everything that's happened this year, and they finally got a good car, and he's just, I can imagine it'd be extremely frustrating. Like, what the fuck happened? Finally have a good car, lap one, and get taken out. But yeah, he did a great job coming back. But that was my personal worst moment. And my best moment, also Mercedes moment, was George Russell's defense, however you want to say that word. He just fantastic. Did better than Bottas did, and it's his first year with Mercedes. So great job defending. He's been just above and beyond all season. It's going to be very interesting now that they have a hopefully competitive car to see how Mercedes deals with these two, because if both are going full blaze and George is still beating Lewis, then that's going to be very interesting to see what happens with that. I don't know how I'll be able to handle. I don't know if I'll be able to deal with that, but I mean, that would bode well for George and his future. But yeah, that is my best and worst of the week. There was one more thing that happened after the race that can definitely go down as another worst of the week.
Oh, yes. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes. You're talking about Sebastian
Vettel. So, to start, it's kind of, and I'm curious what your thoughts are this, because I definitely have some thoughts on this. So, poor Sebastian Vettel has become the latest member of the F1 grid to be a victim of theft. Aston Martin have confirmed, according to their statement, a bag was stolen from the four-time champ in Barcelona this morning, so yesterday morning, but wasn't able to be located. Apparently, the bag was stolen, and Sebastian tried to find it by using his iPhone to track his earphones, which were in the bag. However, when he finally found his earphones, they were abandoned, and the bag couldn't be tracked down. But Spanish publication El Periódico also suggested that Seb rode through the city on a scooter before reaching his headphones. First of all, obviously that's horrible that happened. Sorry to Seb, that sucks. Like, just shitty. But what was he planning on doing if he caught up to these people that just robbed him? Like, you're worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Like, probably just let that one slide. Let it go, buddy.
Yeah, he was going to give them a stern discussion. Just like classic.
You're probably going to get yourself into more trouble than good if you're going after someone that robs you.
Especially I mean this with zero offense, but Barcelona, there's pickpockets, there's thieves, and it's not exclusive to Barcelona. I'm not trying to, obviously, but it's so dangerous. Like, why? I mean, that's just that does seem like something Seb would do. Like, let's go find these fuckers, you know. But super, super dangerous. I mean, can you imagine if, like, God forbid, like, even if he was like just punched, like, it would be like a total disaster, just absolutely dangerous. But I mean, yeah, it goes without saying, just absolutely terrible. He's on the list of now Formula One drivers who have been robbed. I doubt he had $350,000 worth of items in his bag, unlike Charles Leclerc's watch.
Poor Charles. And speaking of Charles, that leads us into the next. Monaco is next, as we have discussed, but that's Charles' home race. And I think even you as a Max fan, me as a Lewis fan, I think everyone in the race, if every F1 fan, unless they absolutely despise Ferrari, is kind of pulling for Charles to finally get his win on his home race. He deserves it. 100% deserves it. He's gone through everything else that could happen to him at that track. So I think we can both say, on behalf of Hard or Soft Podcast, we're rooting for Charles in Monaco, hoping that it's a little bit more of a race, not just a procession or a qualifying, like, quality sets the winner, basically. But that remains to be seen, but definitely rooting for Charles. Anything else on that?
I hope that him crashing Nicky's car was his, like, if he has to crash in Monaco once a year, let's hope that got it out of the way, because I want nothing more than a Charles win, pole. I want it all. Give it to me. Even if that means a Max DNF, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I'll take Charles 1, Lewis 2, George 3. Let's do that.
Oh, okay.
Let's even the odds a little bit here. Before we wrap up, I have one thing that I wanted to mention. As a big golf fan, the PGA Championship was this last weekend. I don't know if you caught the end of it, but there was a guy named Mito Pereira, very little known golfer from Chile, just a young guy on the come up, putting in the performance of a lifetime. He was leading almost the entire final round. At one point, it looked like he was just going to run away with it. His lead slowly starts to dwindle, but he's standing on the 18th tee with a one-shot lead. There's two guys finished. He's at 6 under. There's two guys at 5 under that are finished already. So he's got a one-shot lead playing the last hole. Everyone watching, not going to lie, is kind of hoping that he makes a bogey so it goes to a 3-man playoff. He doesn't make a bogey. He hits his tee shot into the water, takes a drop, hits his next shot over the green, hits his chip over the green, misses the putt, takes a double bogey, and misses the playoff. Just heartbreaking to see someone have 20 minutes like that where it's just it wasn't the worst collapse of all time, but when someone plays flawless golf basically for 71 holes and then the 72nd hole they just choke. And he even said afterwards, he's like, I was so nervous, like I didn't even know what was going on in my body. Like he handled it pretty well, but it was hard to see. But congrats to Justin Thomas because he is an amazing golfer and he ended up winning.
Wow.
But yeah, that was a tough one. So the F1 was my morning entertainment and the PGA was my afternoon entertainment this weekend.
Jesus Christ, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
That is, I can't imagine. I mean, we talk about these racers, having tons of heartbreak from, a 90-minute race, but like 71 holes.
Yeah, 72 holes total.
72.
And he went through 70. He basically perfect for 71 holes, and then the last one got him.
God, I mean, that just goes to show you like what pressure can do to you. And I mean, at least like you said, he handled it nicely. I'm enjoying the little like golf snippets you're giving me. When I was listening back to last week and you were telling me about Phil
Mickelson.
What's it? Yeah, Phil Mickelson. Oh my God. Like we're going to definitely need to.
Yeah, I've been reading the book. I'm almost done. There's definitely some interesting things in there.
Oh, okay. Holy shit.
Yeah, we can get to that on another episode. But yeah, when I finish the book, we'll have a little fireside chat on Phil.
Absolutely. Yeah. This doesn't necessarily have to be 100% F1. We can be 95% F1.
Yeah, a little bit of us in there too.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully I'll have something to discuss at some point. Maybe the Braves will bring it home again this year, eh?
Maybe. If the Jays can't do it, I'm fine with the Braves doing it.
Oh yeah. God. Do the Braves ever play the Jays? Like I know so little about baseball.
I think like once a year. I think they play like one year they'll play like a 4-game set or 3-game set in Atlanta, and then I think the next year they do it in Toronto. I'm also not 100% sure on that either. So,
well, I know
they definitely do play each other sometimes.
I definitely would love to catch that game. Our two teams going at it. That would be so cool.
That would be cool.
But God, that is just like I have no context to anything golf related, but like that's heartbreaking to me. I did see a video of a guy who it was like a TikTok. He got the call that somebody dropped out like 2 days before, and he had to use rental clubs. He flew like immediately. He bought the first flight he could, and he made it in like less than 2 hours to go. I don't know his name, but whoever you are, props to you.
Yeah, I don't remember his name either, but that was a cool video. He's like rushing to the golf course. Clubs got there separate, but yeah, I think it's like Bryson DeChambeau withdrew last minute and he got in there, but yeah, I love hearing stories like that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's just God. That's got to be like such a cool feeling, like even if you don't place.
Yeah, you know John Daly?
Yeah.
Yeah. So his like how he basically got famous was he was like the 13th replacement or something like that to a major tournament once, and like he just barely got in. Like the morning of the tournament, he gets in, and this is when he's like young, he had like a blonde mullet and just hitting bombs off Steve, and nobody knew who he was, and he comes in. I don't know how many PGA Tour events he'd played, but just an unknown guy, and blows everyone away at a major tournament, wins the PGA Championship. This is like, I don't know, mid 90s or so, and like vaulted him to what he is. But yeah, it's just, imagine that you're just sitting there like, I'm the 13th alternate. There's no chance I'm getting in this thing. And then you get in and then you win. Like, just insane.
Yeah, I think like that specifically is like what I love about sports. Just the absolute underdog, because I mean that happens all the time. It happened in the Kentucky Derby this year with Rich Strike. Like, I watched that live. I was like losing my shit. Like that was so fucking cool. I love when shit like that happens. I think I don't know if it was from like this year, but I did see a clip of John Daly. He is just like oh man. Like if I ever get into golf, it's because of him. Like he is definitely my favorite golfer as someone who's not like a huge golf fan.
Yeah, no, he was playing this past week because he's a former champion. There was the PGA Championship this week, and he's got like the full barrel. He's got like the Santa beard, and he has like some issues with his health. So he's the only guy on PGA Tour that's allowed to use a golf cart. Which is like
my God.
Professional golf. They're letting him use a golf cart. Hopefully Tiger will get to use that now. But so it's so funny seeing the videos of like you would expect he'd just kind of go around the edges, but he was buzzing like right through the middle of like in between bunkers, right up by the edge of the green, just hopping out, having a heater with him the whole time. He's got his Diet Cokes. He's just electric to watch, and he was doing pretty good for the start of it. But yeah, it's crazy seeing the videos of him just buzzing around in like a PGA Tour golf course in a golf cart during the tournament, right beside the green, like he's Donald Trump.
Oh my God, that's
hilarious.
so funny. I love that it's only him that can do that too. Does he drive the golf cart?
Yeah, it's just him in the golf cart. I guess sometimes he probably has his caddy in there, but
I was
I
gonna
don't know. It's funny
say.
because you see like the rest of the group just walking down the fairway, and he's just riding up there. He's got his smoke. He's got his Diet Cokes.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Yeah, I mean, I would think a professional caddy would escort him the right way, but God, that's hilarious. Just seeing him. I just picture him like riding through the sand trap, like with his Diet Coke.
Pretty much.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Gosh. Well, is there anything that you wanted to discuss about Spain or Monaco before we sign off this evening?
No, that's all for me. I think I mentioned it a few times to you over the weekend, but I think my one big hope for this season that Lewis is going to be in contention for the Canadian Grand Prix. I think it's starting to look like it's a possibility. So definitely getting excited for that. We got Monaco, Baku, and then Montreal, I believe. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Wait. Yes, we have bangers.
We'll definitely have a good preview coming for Monaco. But yeah, that was a fun episode. Anything else for you, or should we get out of here?
Gosh, the only thing that I was going to mention earlier that I completely forgot, and I know I won't mention it again, is that Lewis Hamilton, of course, he is just like, he seems like the absolute coolest guy off track. So nice. He loves the fans. He dedicated this race specifically and the rest of his season to, I'm not going to say her name, but to a young girl who is terminally ill. So I think that's extremely sweet of him. I did see some really funny takes when he was wanting to retire the car, but of course, he's not considering that. But like, mega props to him for just, being like just a super, super great guy. Like I adore Lewis. That's all.
Awesome. Great way to end the show.
Yes, we love Lewis Hamilton here, but we also are Red Bull fans, aren't we?
You and Bogey are, yeah.
Oh yeah, apparently. Christian.
Get that bum out of here.
Okay, yes, we're gonna sign off. So thank you all so much for watching or listening. Give us a listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Hard or Soft F1 Podcast. We're on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. Gosh, I forgot. And it is at Hard or Soft F1. We've both been extremely busy these last couple of weeks with work and everything, but within the next couple of weeks, specifically with Monaco, there's going to be a lot more content, not only on the TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, but the YouTube account. We're going to be, I'm going to be starting to make videos talking about specific topics. So be on the lookout for that because we're wanting to grow our YouTube account and just everything, our social media. So be on the lookout for lots more content. But yeah, is that anything else you wanted to say before we end it?
That's it. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll chat next week.
See ya.